Hi guys, welcome to SimLive. My name is Kiki and this video will be part of a tutorial series where I'll be modeling some custom content for the character Lara Croft from Shadow of the Tomb Raider in stages. In this video I'm working on the skin overlay. So for creating the skin for Lara, I had a couple of ideas. Obviously I've been watching a playthrough of Shadow of the Tomb Raider, but her face has changed quite a lot over all the games that she's been in. For instance, I'm talking about this series in particular. So Tomb Raider, Rise of the Tomb Raider, Shadow of the Tomb Raider. And the reason why her face changed a lot between the first one and the second one, so Tomb Raider or Rise of the Tomb Raider, is because in the creation of the second video game, instead of using like points on the face, they put luminescent paint on her face so they could capture like over 9,000 points or something. So it gave the animators a much more accurate idea of the facial expressions when she was acting, but with that her face also changed quite a lot between the two games. And I noticed that within Rise of the Tomb Raider and Shadow of the Tomb Raider, that her face has changed quite a lot again. Most of the time I can't actually see her face that well because it's covered either in mud, blood, or, you know, her hair takes up like 40% of her face. So what I've decided to do is actually just take the actress Camilla Luddington, who is acting Lara in the game, as an example or as a base for what we're going to base the skin overlay for Lara on. So right now we're creating just the skin overlay. I will be creating some makeup for her as well, and some wounds and some mud camouflage, but right now at this point I'm working on the overlay. So I'm using 3D mode in Photoshop to overlay these bits of Camilla Luddington's face. So I've got a cutout of her front view, a cutout of her right view, and I copied the right view over to the left side because I couldn't find a good profile picture of her left side. And I know that humans in real life aren't 100% symmetrical, but Sims are. So in this case I'm just going to use her right side. Well, technically it's her left side for her right side, but we're looking at it as the right side. So, but technically I should be saying left side, but you know what I mean. So this side is going to be mirrored over to the other side. So now I'm just using the liquefy tool to liquefy the image to the shape of the Sim's head. And here you can see in the 2D texture what that looks like, and it's very creepy, I agree. It's creepy as hell. But eventually it will look somewhat decent. Obviously it's not going to look 100% like Camilla, because I will be adjusting the skin in such a way that it looks Max's match rather than hyper realistic. You could create a hyper realistic skin, but that's not the style I'm going for. And I just wanted to use her as a sort of a base to go from, because I couldn't find any good images of Lara's face in game that I could use this technique for, and I like this technique, so it's interesting. So now I've got both sides stuck on there. So what the 3D thing basically does is it calculates how it lays on the texture, which means that I don't have to. Because I did try that once and it didn't work out very well. So just moving on to the front side of her face now, and because I have the other two images over the Sim's head at the moment, it's very difficult to see where everything goes, so I wasn't too precise, I just stuck it over. I don't think I end up using a whole lot of the front view in the end. Oh, I'm just drinking a cup of very hot tea, that really burned my mouth. Oh. So now I'm just basically erasing, smudging, changing the colors to turn this into one image, which when I'm doing this I don't really notice how ridiculous it looks until I'm looking it back to record the voiceover. But yeah, I enjoy the process anyway. I'll be removing most of the top of the head because of the eyes, and the nose always ends up looking very funky, so I'll get rid of that as well. But in the end it will retain some of the features, which is why I'm creating it. I think one of Now, I'm not very good at recognizing faces anyway, but the thing that I find most, what stands out for me the most with her face is basically she has a very oval face, and it's got very nice cheek, very nice cheekbones, which also creates that crease between the mouth and the cheekbones and cheeks, which I will be dialing down quite a bit because it ends up aging the sim quite a lot in The Sims, even though it's a very natural thing and it doesn't correlate with old age that much, but it does in The Sims, just because you don't see it that much. And of course, as you get older, they do become more pronounced, so it sort of is related to old age, but you know, babies and children have that crease too. It's a part of the anatomy. So I've just added some, I went back to the original front view picture just to stick her lips on, because I think those are very distinctive with her as well. Now here I was actually happier with the way that it turned out on the right. So, and as they are symmetrical anyway, I've just copied that side over and pulled it over to the other side. So now I've just added some blur and I'm merging it in with the background image just to give it a bit more of a cartoony look. So I just shadowed underneath the lip a bit more because Lara does have like, I don't know how to describe that chin, but it's a very round chin. So now I'm turning it grey, turning it into a grayscale image because that is what an overlay is, grey. So you can use it for all skin tones. And what I have underneath is basically blank body texture, so without the underpants, and what I've overlaid over that is the texture for when Sims are a bit more muscular. I have dialed it down, I have not gone for the full fitness freak texture, but I've created a mixture between that, so she'll still look muscly even though you're not putting the slider for muscles all the way up. And I actually got that from a modder, and I've forgotten the name, but I will leave a link for it down in the description. They basically just took all the textures in game and turned it into a package file so that it's easy to find, which I was very, very grateful for because it took me forever just to Photoshop the underpants of the normal skin texture. So here we are in game. You can see right there that the overlay had some muscles on it, and here you can see that the overlay works for all the skin tones. So that was just a little in-game test. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a second swatch for the overlay where we'll have some wounds, blood and gore. I don't know if you've played the game or seen someone else, or, you know, watched a playthrough or something, but there's this bit in the game where Lara gets attacked by a, I don't know, a panther or not a leopard. I think it's just a panther, or a leopard. I'm not sure. I'm not that up to date on my cats. But yeah, basically he attacks her and scratches her back, and she's complaining about it all through the game. Jonah's like, how's your back? And she's like, sometimes she's like, I'm fine, and then sometimes she's like, oh, it hurts. So I guess it goes in phases. So here I'm just creating some highlights for the scratches to give it some 3D depth. And the reason why I'm doing this on the overlay rather than on the wounds itself is because if you were to change her skin tone, then it wouldn't look like we've just stuck a sticker on. If that makes any sense at all. It does to me. But yeah, no, I think the effect this way is very good, and I'm going to create the blood as a separate, not an overlay, but as a face paint or as a tattoo. I think I made it into a tattoo. So it is in combination. If you don't have the blood tattoo over this will literally look like, I don't know, like. Do you know? Have you seen those series where it's like detectives and stuff, and they're looking at a corpse, and if the wounds are like created after the person's died, there's no blood because obviously they don't have any blood left, or the blood's gone down to the bottom of the body, so it can't seep out of the wound. So you have those open gashes that don't bleed. That's what it would look like, so zombie-like. And I just want to say, I do not know where I got this brush from. It could be that it's from Photoshop itself, but it probably is something that I downloaded once, but it is brilliant. Look at that. That is such a good liquid effect. The way that it just kind of is more, less see-through on the sides, because that is where most of the blood is congealed. Ah, it's brilliant. Such a good liquid effect. I'm so happy I found that brush. Most of my brushes are by Draken, but I was looking through my folder the other day and realized I have lots of other brushes that I've downloaded. I mean, there's no system to my brushes, which is why I spend ages and ages scrolling through. So, like right now. Alright, now I'm doing the camouflage. Now, I'll be honest with you, I don't think anybody is going to be downloading this camouflage paint that I'm creating at the moment, but I just thought it had to be done right, because she spends the game like covering herself in muddy camouflage, and every picture you see of her, she's covered in mud and blood, that I had to have the mud camouflage texture. But don't worry, I'm not expecting anyone to be dying for this type of texture. I just wanted it because I thought it fit the character. And I'm using this brush because it kind of looks like fingers have rubbed it on. Anyway, that's the idea that I got with that brush. If used lightly, otherwise it became too solid. And I am trying to avoid the seams at the moment because obviously otherwise everything won't line up. So that's why I'm not going over the shoulders to come down to the front. That's why I'm leaving the top of the shoulder clear. And I misspelled camouflage, but fixed it there. Now I did, you'll see me uploading the mud camouflage as a tattoo here, but I'll go back later and actually create a face paint of it rather than a tattoo, which works great because then you can layer up the tattoo and the face paint and the overlay. So this is the second swatch for the overlay. So we've just got a scraped knee, a bullet wound on the shoulder, and some panther scratches. And now we're going to do the blood, I think, as a tattoo. So I'm just choosing a tattoo to stick this over. Yeah, wounds, tattoo. I'm just checking that there's nothing in the shadow and the specular. So I'm just going to import my PNG of my wounds. And then I was like, oh, but actually the blood is liquid and hasn't dried up yet, so we should give it some specular. So I'm just jumping back into Photoshop and getting back my layers that are the blood. I'm getting rid of the scraped knee because that doesn't need to be shiny. And then I'm just going to add an overlay of white over the wounds to tell basically the game that I want these areas to be specular. And then I'll just quickly create the mask by putting a black background behind it and saving that as a mask. And there we have a specular. It's very subtle in game, but you definitely will notice it when she moves. So now I'm uploading the mud camouflage as a tattoo, but again, it's actually a face paint because I tested this in game and it didn't quite look right, so I went back and uploaded it as a face paint, which ended up being better because again, you could layer them up. So here we are in game, and I also added the scar she has on her cheek. So this is what the scratches and wounds look like without the blood. So a bit more of a zombie wounds effect, I guess. Then here we have the camouflage. I'm really just imagining that really loosely being rubbed on, like putting your hands in the mud and then rubbing that on. And here are the bloods, and as you can see, there's a little bit of shiny of the wetness of the blood drops. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a little bit of, I'll call it definition to the face. I don't necessarily want to call it makeup, I guess technically it would be. Just because her face was looking a teensy-weensy bit bland without the colours. I just wanted the lips to be a little bit more red, a little bit more definition around the eyes, and a little bit more colour on the cheeks. See it as sunburn because she is in the hot South American sunshine all the time. Oh, that's a missed opportunity. I could have given her some sunburns. Just some light, you know, sun blushing. But I didn't. I'm just fading out the corner of the eye there. And then I'm going to copy it over, drag it onto the other side so that it's symmetrical. And now I'm just going to make a selection of the lips. So that I can change the color spectrum of that and make it more red. Now I know that on this grey background that looks extremely red, but in a second I'm going to put the skin behind there just to test how red it really is. And then you'll see that it is not that very red at all. It's very natural actually. And I've just copied that color and now I'm creating a blusher out of it. Or a sun blush. And as you can see, that's not too overly red as it looks on the grey. And I'm just copying over because I want it to be symmetrical. There we go. And then I've just hid all the other layers so that I can just save this face paint as a PNG file. And then I'm just going to open a face paint and save that as that. And for the mud camouflage, I've actually added this makeup as well because that one is a face paint as well. You can't have both, so that's why I've added it in there as well. So if you would go and just have her without the mud and then have her with the mud, she would just suddenly lose the definition that I've just created. So quite subtle, but it does just give it an extra bit of color. I've just made some mild adjustments. I didn't even know I left that footage in. Anyway, I got this random sim when I was wanted to go into the Sims to test my CC. And I love this random sim. So I thought, you know what, as I got her, let me just create Lara real quick. So I'm just doing a create a sim of Lara. Even though I can't really see her face all that very well. But, you know, we do our best. But yeah, so after this create a sim, I will be also activating the custom content that I've created for her, including the hair as well. Now the mud and the blood does look a bit weird because I haven't made clothes for her that has a swatch with the same mud and blood, which I will do eventually. And then at the end, I've got some pictures just as a small little showcase. I will be creating more stuff for her as well. So I'll leave all the links of other custom content that I used or any resources down below in the description. So I'll hope you'll join me for the rest of this series. Have a lovely day. See you later and bye-bye.